thus increasing your blood pressure. Also, aldosterone, this RAAS pathway, is part of maintaining blood pressure and a hormone secreted by the kidneys / adrenal cortex influences it. So here's this pathway. You're dehydrated, for example. You have a sodium deficiency. So thus, then you have a decrease in blood pressure. So that's your problem, decrease in blood pressure. This stimulates the RAAS system, which is a pathway where angiotensinogen from the liver is released, and there's an enzyme called renin this is what's released from the kidneys, okay, from the juxtaglomerular apparatus cells that sense that blood pressure is too low. Remember, in that area, they sense it from the afferent arteriole where it meets the ascending loop of the nephron. They increase this enzyme called renin. Renin, along with angiotensinogen, will increase a hormone called angiotensin 1. Now that gets converted to the active form, which is known as angiotensin 2. Now it's active. Now it's ready to do its job via help from an enzyme in the lungs called ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, so now it's active, and it's going to go do a few things. It's going to increase a hormone called aldosterone, which is secreted from the adrenal cortex, which will increase blood pressure ultimately. It will also cause vasoconstriction in the arterioles, including the afferent arteriole that's bringing blood to the nephron, which will also increase blood pressure until it's returned to normal. That's going to make urine dilute. And this just is the details in word form of what I just said, if that's better for you. And specifically how aldosterone works, we're in the principal cells in the collecting ducts again. Remember, we talked about the principal cells when we talked about antidiuretic hormone. In aldosterone's case, though, it causes them to reabsorb more sodium back and chloride ions. Now, the cool thing, and we'll talk more about this, is with sodium, with salt, comes water. Salt pulls the water in with it. So the result, again, is the reabsorption of sodium, but also water, which will increase the blood volume, thus increasing the blood pressure. I'm not going to go over this piece by piece, but please pause, open up your notes, find this image in your book, and pause on this for a while. Look over it. It's the details of what's reabsorbed where, what's secreted where, all of those details that are good to look at. So urine, that's what the kidneys are all about, the big waste product. Increases in that glomerular filtration rate usually result in increase in urine production. But there's many mechanisms that help control electrolyte water reabsorption. Various parts of the nephron, hormones involved. It's actually quite complex. Normal urine output per day is about 1 to 2 liters. Also, characteristics of normal urine, besides volume, is the color. Should be a yellow or amber color. Turbidity should be pretty transparent. Odor, mildly aromatic. Different things can affect odor. Some people, after they eat asparagus, the odor of the urine can have a certain smell. Diuretics can impact urine. Things like caffeine, alcohol can increase urine output because they block the reabsorption of water in the collecting ducts. Essentially, pH can range from 4.6 to 8 of urine, 4.6 to 8, and average is about a 6. Depends on diet, things like that. If you eat more protein, you're going to have more acid in your urine. And specific gravity, the density ratio. Urinalysis, and probably most of you have had a urine sample where they look at the urine for certain reasons. They look at the physical properties, the chemical properties, and they even look at the microscopic properties of urine. There's sediment in urine, which is kind of gross, but we'll talk about that with the little lab. Most of the urine volume is water, and that can be more or less depending on whether the urine's concentrated or dilute. There are normal substances present in urine that aren't reabsorbed, so they're filtered into the urine or they're resecreted or secreted. Certain diseases, kidney problems, alter that. So that's why they do a urinalysis to see if potentially to rule out certain diseases. So abnormal things, bacteria, albumin protein, glucose, white blood cells, red blood cells, that would be abnormal. Also, 2 other blood tests are done to see how well the kidneys are working. One called is the BUN test, the blood urea nitrogen. Kidneys excrete nitrogenous waste. So a BUN test measures nitrogen waste in the blood as you're breaking down or catabolizing these amino acids. So if those are high, that's going to indicate problems with the kidney, potentially. Creatinine levels appear in the blood as creatine phosphate in your muscle is catabolized or broken down. So that measures the amount of creatinine in the blood. If you have too much, that means the kidneys aren't doing their job, renal dysfunction. And that's it for part 2.